Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the November 6, 2024 meeting of the Daytona Beach City Commission. We're happy to have each of you with us tonight. Madam Clerk, may we have a roll call?
Commissioner Paris?
Here.
Commissioner Strickland?
Here.
Commissioner May? Here. Commissioner Cantu? Here. Commissioner Henry? Here. Commissioner Reed?
Here.
Mayor Derek L. Henry?
Here.
Okay. We'll now move on to item number 4, which is approval of the minutes of the October 2nd, 2024 City Commission meeting.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Oh, and I'm sorry, approving the September 18th, 2024 Commission Shade meeting.
Okay.
So moved.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Now move on to our agenda approval. If there are any changes, our city manager will address.
Yes, Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, add item 11D, City Clerk's Office declaring the results of the November the 5th, 2024 Municipal General Election. Add item 11E, City Attorney's Office request for an Attorney General Advisory Legal Opinion. That concludes the changes.
I move to accept the agenda with the said changes.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, we'll now move on to item number 6, which is our presentation. Tonight we have a presentation from Volusia Volunteers in Medicine. However you would like to do it.
Okay, I get to go first. You get to hear me, my lovely voice. A lot of you have seen me before. I'm Carol Killian. I live in Stacey Cantu's area. She's a big supporter of ours. I appreciate all your assistance. Volusia Volunteers in Medicine, I believe you have a handout and some other information. Originally, the clinic was a part, well, it still is a part of the Daytona Beach Vision Plan that was clear back in 2008, I believe it was. And then the clinic itself, we started seeing patients in 2015. We've grown through the years and we've moved to different spaces and places. And for tonight, I'd really like to thank Mayor Henry personally for his $5,000 donation. And that's really why we're here, to let you know about what we do and where we are, because we need more donations. We do fundraising all of the time to try to give the best free medical care to the people in Volusia County who are below the poverty level, have no health insurance, and Francine will give you some actual specific numbers on that. It's kind of mind-blowing. Recently, we had to make some changes. The all-aboard storage owner, Andy Clark, has been kind enough to help us through the last couple of years. The place that we were last in on Mason Street had the roof blown off in the hurricane. So we were forced just a week later, a couple of weeks ago, he helped us move into the executive building that he has up on Granada for the time being. And he gives us a special rate for that. But we're continuing to look for a permanent office where we can see people all the time without having to move around. Every patient is only seen by appointment only, and they have to qualify. You'll read through some of the information in here, but we qualify each of the patients when they come in because they have to meet the criteria of their income or their working status. And we also see only adults, 19 to 64, I believe it is. We don't see Medicare or Medicaid patients. It's only for those people in our county who are in need of basic medical care, just to keep going, so that we take away some of the visits to the hospitals, emergency care and things like that. So what we're here for today, again, is to inform you of where we are in our status, what we need to do. We have a new website that is going up, and we're trying more and more to market ourselves as the free VolusiaFreeClinic.com, and that's going to be a new website that we're going to launch fairly soon. The medical volunteer word comes out of the volunteers of doctors and nurses who give that free care to these folks. So that's how we really run is, are you okay? And that's really how we run the clinic is through these volunteer folks. We have one paid part-time manager who facilitates all of the appointments for the patients who come in. They're only seen by appointment only. Are there any questions before I introduce Francine and Sandra?
You have one paid person?
Yes, one paid part-time person. That's why we need money. We need funds to keep this going, and there's no other real clinic. The Jesus Clinic still sees patients, but they're struggling as well. Unfortunately, it just takes dollars and spaces to be able to get health care to all of our citizens. So I'd like to introduce Francine Barnes. She is one of the founders and is our current president of the board and major person behind everything that we do. So Francine has a lot of real statistics I think you'll be interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I want to take this opportunity to give you a little history about the origins of Volusia Volunteers in Medicine. In 2008, a group of ordinary citizens were assembled and given the charge of developing a vision plan for the city of Daytona Beach. When the plan was finalized, these citizens were then given the responsibility to review the plan and implement some of the strategies recommended by that. And the person who asked us to do that was Mayor Henry. He was the one that asked us to go over the plan and look and see what we wanted to do. One of the strategies recommended was to explore avenues to providing health care to low-income, working, uninsured residents in the community. The committee reviewing the plan chose this strategy to bring to fruition. Access to health care has long been a challenge for low-income residents, and as a member of this committee, we all decided that we would take on this challenge. While this was a Daytona Beach initiative, our committee decided from the beginning that any program developed would be open to all residents in Volusia County. Disease is no respect of geographical boundaries, and it will strike anyone, anywhere, anytime, without regard to race, religion, gender, or economic status, and it can have devastating effects if left untreated. The devastating effects of untreated illnesses was made real for me when I read a letter to the editor, which appeared in the Daytona Beach News Journal on January 8, 2009. I just want to read an excerpt from that letter. I'm not going to read the whole letter. I think you have a copy of that. It says, and it was a father who wrote a letter about his daughter. In November, my daughter and her friends called 30 doctor's offices in an effort to get an appointment for my daughter. Of the 30 called, 15 said they were not taking any new patients. The other 15 listened until they heard self-pay, then refused to see her. On December 2nd, my daughter was rushed to Halifax Health Medical Center's emergency room. The sore throat that she had initially sought a doctor's appointment for had become pneumonia, which brought on a heart attack. Then septic shock shut down her vital organs. Her hands and feet were amputated December 26th. All of this from strep throat untreated. So we can see, and it was signed by Bob Burnett, Daytona Beach. So this was one of our residents. I don't know the gentleman who wrote this letter or his daughter, but I've kept this article all these years to remind me of what the consequences would be if we failed to bring this free clinic into existence. For this reason, we did not think it would be fair to limit health care to residents simply because they did not live in a specific geographical area. So the decision made to serve any resident of Volusia County. We partnered with a national consortium of free clinics called Volunteers in Medicine America and decided upon the name Volusia Volunteers in Medicine. Volunteers in Medicine America was started by a retired physician named Jack McConnell, and he opened the first clinic in Hilton Head, South Carolina in the early 80s. Since that time, this consortium has grown to more than 100 free clinics across America. We opened our doors in September 2015, and since that time, we have served more than 650 residents in 17 cities in Volusia County. And I think you have a handout with that, and it shows the residents by city and the percentage of our patients that they represent. While we serve all of Volusia County, our target area was Daytona Beach. And as you can see from our handout, at least 46% of our patients live in Daytona Beach. Today, access to health care is still a challenge for many, and it is still an issue for residents of the United States. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, American Community Survey, and United Health Foundation, the number of uninsured residents in the state of Florida is considerably above the national average. The national average for uninsured residents is 8%. I think you have a handout on that that gives you, and it gives some other states, but we're concentrating on ours, Florida. The national average is 8%. The average of uninsured residents in the state of Florida is 11.2%. which gives us a ranking of 46 out of the 50 states. So we're down pretty low. The news is even worse for Volusia County and Daytona Beach. The average percentage of uninsured residents in Volusia County is 11.6%, which is higher than the state average. And the average percentage of uninsured residents in Daytona Beach is 13.3%, which is considerably higher than the county average. All of this evidence is evidence that we still have work to do to ensure the health care of our residents. VVIM needs your support to ensure that we can continue to provide this critical service to our most vulnerable citizens. We've tried to make our services available to as many residents as possible by expanding the income level that we serve. In the past, we were restricted to serving residents at or below 200% of the federal poverty guidelines. In January of this year, the governor extended that to 300% of the federal poverty guidelines, and we immediately extended our financial eligibility criteria to 300% of the guidelines. And you have a copy of that. I think you should have volunteer health care provider program. We provide health care to residents at our local homeless shelter and are able to provide them with health check equipment such as blood pressure cuffs and blood glucose testing equipment. We have partnered with a local church which provides bus passes for transportation and gift cards to help pay for prescription medication for our patients. So we're working really hard in order to, first of all, serve as many patients as we can. And as I said, by law, we're restricted to only those, and with the state raising ours to 300% of the poverty level. And if you look at the outline that I gave you, the poverty level for a monthly income is only $1,255. That's basically nothing. You could spend that much on rent. And so when they increased it to 300%, we're now at monthly income of $3,765. which equates to an annual income of $45,180. So we're trying to expand to serve as many people as we can. And we really are asking you all for help. We get a grant from the state, which is around $200,000. I mean, $10,000, I wish it was 200. $10,000 a year. And our annual budget right now is $75,000 per year. So all the income after that, we have to raise it, either by private donations, companies, or from our cities. And that's what we're going to all of our cities that you see on that list and asking for help with our funding. I also wanted to just give you an idea of just how much this means to our patients. We have what we call a patient satisfaction survey, and we ask our patients some questions. And one of the questions we ask is to tell us what this means to you. And one patient wrote, "They have gotten my health back on track. Even with 3 major medical events over the past 3 years, VVMC has helped me and my family through them, and I truly don't think I would have made it. Another patient wrote, have been able to see a doctor, have not been able to see a doctor in years because I could not afford it. They have sent me to sports medicine for cortisone shots, so I am able to still work. And the last one said, I have to take thyroid medicine every day, and without VVIM, I would not have it. Thank you. So these are what the patients are saying. This means a lot to them. And so we really want to continue our service, and we're asking for your help in meeting our budget. And Sandra is going to give us some more information on the kind of other services that we offer.
Well, actually, I think we're over our 10 minutes, but good evening to everyone. I'm going to be very quick. I serve as the treasurer, and I just want to thank all of you who have contributed in the past, Commissioner Cantu, Commissioner Henry, Mayor Henry, and Commissioner May, and Commissioner Strickland. We're very grateful for all of the donations that you give to us. We have to reach out into the community, and you're not the only ones that we reach out to. And I just wanted to say thank you, and that we are here tonight to ask you to continue your support of this worthy cause. And we appreciate it if you would actually try to include us in your annual budget yearly, if you can. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay.
Are there any questions or comments? Or, as you can tell, this is a real need here in our community. We do reach out to other cities because we're servicing them. I think you can see the percentage there. We do have an office that the health department has provided to us down in New Smyrna. We go there once a month, and doctors come there and we can see patients. So anyway, no questions?
Commissioner.
Oh, okay.
I was just curious on how many doctors you had volunteering.
Yeah, there are a couple of doctors down in New Smyrna who come in when we're open, and our assistant will go down there and get the patients by appointment. We use residents here from Halifax Hospital who come every Friday. Is it twice a week or twice a week here at where we have a space now in all of our storage. But as you can tell, it would be wonderful if we could go back into a real space that is a real clinic and a real reception area. Right now, we moved all of our equipment into all aboard storage. You know, we have all the usual table and things that we need for a real clinic room. And it would be just great if we can continue to let people know we need a space. We need to move back into a real space. But we've got so many doctors who are, if we have a specialty type thing, like Francine was saying, some of the people we've actually caught some cancer issues, and we'll call a doctor and they will see them. We have a number of doctors who are on our call list who are very well, open to seeing patients whenever we need real specialty type needs, even OBGYN people. What we see now mostly are the ones with the high blood pressure, allergies, some of the normal things that you all have, and they run to and wait till the last minute and go to the emergency room. And that's costing us money. That costs us $2,500 now, from what we understand, anytime anyone walks into an emergency room. And we're trying to save the general public those costs as well. Anything else? I don't want to use up some more of your precious time.
The blood work,
Yeah.
you all still, that's
Yes.
still a very important part of what you do, right?
Absolutely. Blood work, x-rays, normal things that people need on a regular basis. And we try to provide that. And we have a partnership with Advent Health and Halifax Health. I mean, when have you heard them doing anything together? And the Halifax residents come, like I said, and help with actually seeing the patients. Twin Lakes, if we need imaging, special imaging of anything, sometimes we have to pay a certain amount. That's why we need money to continue operations. So, any other?
Commissioner,
Yeah, my question is, does the city have anywhere available that we could help with this project?
We have talked with both the mayor and Mr. Fiacher, and they have looked around, but if we could just get the word out to the general public
Yeah, I'm asking them,
about the city.
yeah, is
Yeah.
there anywhere that we have? Huh?
we'll revisit it, he says. Let's revisit it, because I have asked and looked in the past.
That's because you all were at Bethune.
They were at Bethune.
Yes,
We tried to look for a spot.
yeah, after that, right. And that's why we ended up having to find someplace that we were having to pay a lease arrangement. And so we've been to a couple of places since then. So if there's just 2 small rooms available, if any realtor has a couple of rooms or the city has a couple of rooms stuck away somewhere, I mean, we can make it work. We can definitely make it work. I appreciate your question. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Okay.
We'll try to figure something out. And again, like Sandra said, you all have donated before. If you can see your way to put us on your discretionary funding or on the regular budget, that would be even better. Thank you all for listening tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to item number 7, citizen comments. During this time, citizens have the opportunity to address the city commission on any item on the consent agenda. And I have one speaker on the consent agenda, Mr. John Nicholson.
John Nicholson, 413 North Grandview Avenue. Before I start is, we have a building, I think it's been turned into a police substation right there on Nova Road. It used to be the old Florida Patrol office. That's small. We don't need 5 police stations. So I think it would be better to be a health service than an additional police station. Anyway, think about that. 3 things. 1, A, C, and G. A is the code. You're looking at properties, I think 8 or 10 of them, I looked at in the back. I think they're all in Midtown. Is there a possibility that the city could build these buildings? I mean, just outright, build them and sell them. Build them as cheaply as we can, because if they're all in Midtown and they're all close to each other, a builder could save money by having everything close together. If we could do it, it doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to be a space large enough for a family of 2 kids or 5 kids. It's to our advantage, and plus, Midtown needs bodies. If you've ever driven through Midtown, lots and lots and lots of empty lots. With those lots being empty, there's nobody living there. With nobody living there, they can't buy services at the buildings in Midtown. So I think it would be to our advantage to have people living there and also to gain the taxes. The second one is, I don't have my glasses with me. The grants, are they, I looked outside, I couldn't see where the money was coming from. Is it money coming from the federal government for Milton? Is it general funds? Where's the money coming from, and who will it go to? I know eventually we will get a report back, but I would like to know whether it's coming from the general fund. And lastly, the bike lanes. They put a bike lane in next to my house at Oak Ridge. It's been 5 years. I have yet to see one person ride on that bike lane, all right? I'm fearful of them putting a bike lane down A1A. It's bad enough now, It's very little land available. The lanes are very short. The sidewalk is only 5 feet wide. If we take 10 feet out of that roadway to put a bike lane in, we're asking for trouble. So I know this is for bikes and whatnot, but people don't use bike lanes. So be very careful, please, about where you put bike lanes. Thank you.
And my other speaker is Mr. Frederick Brown.
Frederick Brown, 1508 Crescent Ridge, Daytona Beach. I want to talk about item 8I on the consent agenda. 8I has all kinds of provisions in it for them to allow us to use as a laydown yard. However, there's absolutely no discussion should there be any hazardous material or hazardous waste dumped in the site. That's a very important issue. I implore the city to put a clause in the agreement that includes that there be no hazardous materials stored on site, and if so, it's complete responsibility of the contractor to do any cleanups. Also, there is no protective fence. There's no provision for that. It's a very prominent area. I drive by it regularly, and I just hate to see just a bunch of construction stuff piled up. And once again, of course, obviously it's convenient for the lift station, upgraded lift station 34, which is a very important part for the city. I don't see any timelines again. It says it's supposed to be done. Well, actually, it was supposed to be done this year, but again, it's like so many of the other projects, there's no provisions for holdover should we go outside the contract, which seems to be the norm rather than the exception on most projects here in the city. So again, I really implore the city to put a clause in there to include hazardous materials and also a protective and fence around the area, as well as something to provide less ugliness as you drive by in Peninsula, one of our main thoroughfares. Thank you.
And that was my final speaker for the consent agenda.
All right, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
All right, we'll take a motion from Commissioner May and a second from Commissioner Strickland. Do we have any questions concerning the consent agenda?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Nicholson brought something up on 8C, the Hurricane Milton Community Recovery Relief Grants. And that was a good question, because I had the same question, which is, if I believe right, it's out of our COVID funds, but it's coming out of the general fund. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
All right.
That's all.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. We're going to move on to item number 9, which is our public hearing and quasi-judicial hearings. Item 9A is Growth Management Planning Department Cornerstone Plan Development General and pre-plat. This is an ordinance on second reading, quasi-judicial hearing. An ordinance amending the zoning map of the Land Development Code to rezone 22.71 plus or minus acres of property located at the southwest corner of LPJ Boulevard and North Williamson Boulevard from Plan Development General PDG to Plan Development General PDG, approving the Cornerstone Plan District Agreement, combining and unifying the Cornerstone Office Park Plan Commercial Development and the Cornerstone Exchange Plan Development for Commercial Development, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the agreement, approving the preliminary plat, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Second.
We'll take a motion from Commissioner May, second from Commissioner Strickland. Do we have any questions or comments? Wasn't it May? I'm sorry, I looked right at her. It was Commissioner May. I said May, didn't I? But I said Strickland? Okay, I'm sorry. We take the motion from May, second from Cantu. Right?
And I do have Jessica Gow here on behalf of the applicant for any questions.
All right. Or was it her? All right. No questions? All right. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, We're going to move on to item number 10, which is our introduction of ordinances. Item 10A is Code Compliance Residential Rental Registration Program. This is an introduction of an ordinance on first reading. An ordinance amending the City Code of Ordinances to create Article 6 of Chapter 26 relating to the residential rental registration program in place of the recently repealed rental licensing program, establishing an annual registration program that applies to all owners of the 1 through 4 residential rental units, establishing a voluntary inspection program for the registrants, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. And are there any questions or comments from the commission on this item? The public hearing and final action is set for November 20th. Moving on to item 10B, it's the Growth Management and Planning Department, the Overlook Third Amendment. This is an introduction of an ordinance on first reading. An ordinance amending the zoning map of the Land Development Code to rezone 3.2 plus or minus acres of property located at 100 and 101 Seabreeze Boulevard, north and south of Seabreeze Boulevard and west of Halifax Avenue, from PDG Plan Development General to PDG Plan Development General. Approving the Third Amendment to the Overlook Residential Plan Unit Development Agreement to increase residential density and modify parking, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the Third Amendment and providing an effective date. And are there any questions or comments from the commission on this item? The public hearing and final action is set for November 20th. We're going to move on to item number 11, which is our administrative items. Item 11A is the Arts and Entertainment Peabody Auditorium Foundation Agreement. This is a resolution. A resolution authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute an agreement with the Peabody Auditorium Foundation, Inc. in support of the Peabody Auditorium for a 3-year term commencing November 1st, 2024, with options to renew for 2 additional terms of 1 year each, and providing an effective date.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion from Commissioner Reed, second from Commissioner May. No questions, no speakers?
No speakers for this item, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. We're going to move on to item 11B. This is the Code Enforcement Board appointments. This is a resolution appointing 2 members to the Code Enforcement Board for 3-year terms ending August 23rd, 2027, and providing an effective date. So this agenda item is appointing 2 members. The terms of Turner Hines and Catherine Marsh have expired, and both would like to be reappointed, and we have 3 additional applications. So if you will mark 2 and put your name on the ballot, please.
I put my name on it. Oh, my handwriting is usually so bad that everybody knows it's mine, even the checks, no matter what it is.
So I'm going to read these into the record. Paula Reed was Turner Himes and Catherine Marsh. Mayor Henry was Turner Himes and Catherine Marsh. Monica Paris was Colleen Cullinan and Rebecca Horton. Juanita May, Turner Himes and Catherine Marsh. Ken Strickland, Turner Himes and Catherine Marsh. Commissioner Cantu, Turner Himes and Catherine Marsh. And Commissioner Henry, Rebecca Horton and Turner Himes. I believe the top 2 were Turner Himes and
Turner
Catherine
Himes.
Marsh.
Yeah.
Okay, so someone can make a motion to reappoint this.
Second.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye. Aye. Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
we're going to move on to item 11C. This is the fire department purchase of fire engine pumpers. This is a resolution. A resolution approving the purchase of 2 E1 Typhoon rescue pumpers in the amount not to exceed $1,886,625 from Metheny Fire and Emergency as the sole source provider, authorizing the city manager to execute any documents necessary for the expenditure herein and providing an effective date.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Cantu and a second from Commissioner May. Do we have any questions or comments?
And I have no speakers.
No speakers. All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 11D. This was the addendum item tonight, one of them. This is from the city clerk's office declaring the results of the November 5th, 2024 municipal general election. This is a resolution. A resolution declaring the results of the November 5th, 2024 regular general municipal election for the elections within zones to the office of City Commissioner for Zone 2 and concerning the approvals of Section 2 and 4 of Ordinance Number 2024-291 as amended by Ordinance Number 2024-314, declaring Ken Strickland duly elected as City Commissioner, Zone 2, declaring unopposed candidate Derek L. Henry Sr. duly elected as Mayor, declaring unopposed candidate Stacey Cantu duly elected as Commissioner for Zone 4, declaring unopposed candidate Paula R. Reed duly elected as Commissioner for Zone 6, providing terms commencing Wednesday, November 20th, 2024, and providing when this resolution shall take effect.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Parrish and a second from Commissioner May. No speakers. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Congratulations to Commissioner Cantu, Commissioner Reed, Commissioner Strickland.
And to you also, Mayor Henry.
Mayor Henry.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to our second added item. This is item 11E, the City Attorney's Office request for an Attorney General advisory legal opinion. This is a resolution. A resolution authorizing and directing the City Attorney to request an advisory legal opinion from the Florida Attorney General on whether Section 553.80 Florida statutes authorizes the city to use the excess permits and licensing P&L fund balance to pay for the cost of constructing a new building to house the city's P&L division, including related costs such as the cost to buy land and make site improvements, and whether in lieu thereof, Section 553.80 authorizes the city to use the excess P&L fund balance to buy an improved parcel and pay for modifications to the existing building and site as necessary to house the P&L division and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Motion, Commissioner Reed, second, Commissioner May. Do we have questions?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to know if we'd be able to modify this to also include if the money can be used to reconstruct or modify a current structure. So an example would be if we wanted to add to the current city hall. Is that possible?
It's possible, but the Attorney General's office is only going to accept for consideration questions after you've had the opportunity to review a memo that I've written. So the memo that I wrote that was distributed tonight, which tracks the discussions we had at the June workshop and the October meeting, addresses just the two issues the way they've been discussed. However, I don't think the amendment you propose is necessary, because the second question would include consideration of discussion of not only the purchase of a building, but modifications to a building. I suspect that the Attorney General will answer that question regardless of whether it's the purchase of a separate building or the modification of City Hall.
So the modification I'm asking for, you think would be covered under the question that you're currently going to be
I think
asking?
it would be
Okay.
included.
Thank you, Ben.
The other thing I would tell you is if the modification of City Hall was the addition of the structure to house permits and licensing, I don't think we have a question, as long as the building official were to say that that new floor was a structure that houses the P&L staff. That's clearly allowed by the statute.
All right.
So we have a,
Do we have a motion in a second, right?
yes, we did.
Do we have any other questions? Okay. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
That was a final agenda item today.
All right, we'll move on to commission comments, and we'll start tonight, I believe, with Commissioner Parrish.
I have some residents that are using the Bevel Road Trail to jog in the evenings. And there's traffic that's coming from the westbound side of Bevel Road that they're crossing over to the south side to get into their subdivisions. And I just want to know, what would be a procedure to get some sort of lighting there? Not overhead, but even maybe something, waist level that would just light the sidewalks. Is that in Bevel Road Trail? So anything, it's going to be west of Clyde Morris going to Williamson. The
Okay,
sidewalks, the
It
trail
is
there.
being, DOT is gonna, it's DOT's
Right.
responsibility, and they are putting in lighting.
So we have lighting
Lighting,
already?
yes, and actually, gosh, I don't have my computer, it broke, but I think it's starting sometime next year. We're just waiting for FPL, and Mr. Waller, I don't know if he's talked to FPL lately, but it's being done. Actually, they turned it down, and I actually had a meeting with the Secretary of the State, and they re-looked at it, and they're putting lighting all the way from Clyde Morris to Williamson. Oh, good, you're here. Can you address that when FPL?
Good evening, David Waller, Public Works Director. Commissioner Cantu's spelled that out perfectly. FDOT has gone back and forth with FP&L since the construction of the trail started about lighting. They had backed off, but they're re-engaged again, and they are funding a lighting project for the entire corridor, which will include the trail and the roadway.
So that's the design and also the implementation of it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been designed. FP&L did the design work, and I believe, and I'll have to confirm this, but I believe they're in the waiting for material phase with FP&L.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. Thank you.
My next thing I wanted to talk about was flooding and Nova Canal. So in the last 2 years, we've had a 100-year storm. So the rain events seem like they are going to still keep coming. The elevation remains in a bowl area, so that's where all the stormwater pools. All of our outflows go into the river, so we're at the mercy of the tides of when the water is going to recede. I guess what all of this being said, and because we're taking in water from other cities, is there some way that we could all come together and see how other cities can maybe hold some of their stormwater runoff so it doesn't come to our area? No. I don't know. Everyone's looking at me like I have 5 heads.
I just don't know which other cities. I think they're all flooding too.
They are. We had a great meeting here this last week with Army Corps, a little bit of an update on their project and progress. And, and recognizing that it's not just the study area that's impacted by the Nova Canal and the flooding, that it spans all of really East Volusia County, and that the solution that the Army Corps recommends for Daytona Beach, for that core study area to try to mitigate and minimize some of the flooding impacts in that area, will be sort of a recipe for the other parts of the community as to how we manage stormwater. And really the focus, it looks like we're looking at, is how you slow and contain and try to slow its roll so that the tide in the system can work like it's supposed to over a longer period of time.
Okay, so what I just asked is being addressed. I mean, it's not something that's out of the ordinary.
It's definitely not out of the ordinary,
Okay.
but what the engineers are looking at in that study is where the water is coming from the watershed in its entirety, and then how do you kind of slow its roll into the lower areas so that the stormwater system has an opportunity to outlet to the river like it's designed to do.
Okay, don't go anywhere, because maybe this next question is already in the process as well. So currently with the Nova Canal, I know that they're just doing cleaning, but there is a need for a full restoration. So in a situation like this, as a commission, do we ask that Commissioner Cantu go to TPO to ask for this?
Mr. Waller, I've already sent that over. It's already being done, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the maintenance of the canal isn't really a TPO function, that's an FDOT maintenance function, and then this part of, also part of what the Army Corps is looking at is if are there improvements that should be done to the canal to help it to hold, improve volume. They're looking at the Navy Canal, there are ways to add volume and storage capacity in those facilities so that the adjacent areas that are draining into them can have more time to let water out. When you look at the water in the Daytona Beach area, and I'm certain that the Port Orange and others are all the same, a tide or two of cycles of low tides, the system works well. So how do we allow that water to stay in those systems long enough to allow the tide to allow water out and over again and minimize the amount of time that water is outside the system, and then the elevation that it peaks at, that to be outside of the finished floor of homes.
Okay, so is a full restoration project being brought to FDOT to fund it? Because to my understanding that they know the project needs to be done, but they're saying there's no funding for it. So can we make it go to them and tell them we want it to be a priority?
Well, I think.
Or is that what?
Well, I think
Commissioner
there's-
Cantu, I don't know, you're laughing, so
Did
have you?
Did you get the email already from DOT? I think.
No, I haven't received anything. This is
Did
why I'm
Mr.
asking
Cantor,
a
Did
question.
you send that over to the rest of the commission? I'm not sure which email. Okay, I'll make sure you get that. You received it too, which they started at Holly Hill and they're working their way back up, and we were gonna have some lane closures.
Okay, but that is in Holly Hill, and that's
No,
in South
They were working their
Daytona.
way up, and they
I
actually
did
started-
receive that email, but to
Okay.
my
Well, I'll send it
understanding,
over. They started October 21st, and they were working 24 hours a day, and the crews were, and they started at, I think it was Holly Hill, and, well, actually 10th Street and 3rd Street, and then they were gonna be moving down to Big Tree Road and Bevel Road, where they would start their double lane closures to work. So I'll make sure you get the email.
I did get the email, but is this part of a full restoration project? Because the thing is, in our area, from Nova to Bellevue, actually even further than Bellevue, all of the area where Midtown is, all the way to Fairway and Holloway Place in that area, Nova from Bellevue to Bevel, that area has just been cleaned, and it hasn't been anything else. It hasn't been dredged. It hasn't had any other restoration. This is why I want to ask, can we go to them and ask for a full restoration project?
According to DOT, they are doing that.
I think they consider the project
Correct.
that's under in works now, so just short of $1 million worth of work, it's 900 and some change, is excavating the canal back to its design elevation. So that's removing sediment in the bottom and cleaning the outfalls as they go down the canal. It's not expanding, it's not doing any constructive changes, but putting it back in the condition that it's intended to be in based on its original configuration.
Okay, so how can we find out when our area is going to be put back to that restoration?
Well, that's the work that they've been doing over the last 6 or however many months.
Okay, to my understanding, that's not being brought to the original elevation. So maybe we could clarify that? I don't
Well,
know.
I have clarified it, and our TPOs, FDOT is there, and they have been doing that, like Mr. Waller
Yeah,
has.
they've been, I mean, I know they've got it, they're excavating the canal, they're hauling some material
Well, they're
off.
excavating it, but they're just putting the dirt to the side, so whenever it rains, it just goes back in. So to me, that doesn't really sound like they're doing a restoration project. So can maybe we just check to see exactly what's being done, and then at the next meeting?
I mean, we can, this is an FDOT project is being managed and inspected by them. We certainly share the concerns of the commission and your concerns with them and try to get some feedback. They've got a design target that they're meeting with the construction of the cleaning process that they're doing. And it is a cleaning. I mean, it's not a, this
It's a
isn't a
cleaning,
construction
it's
project.
not a restoration, because to my understanding, they are aware that they need to do a restoration project, but it's not funded. So I want to find out what we need to do to push for that restoration project,
Well,
and not
you-
just cleaning.
What is it that you have been told, and by who?
Uh,
Have you been told that it's not that?
In staff, because I had asked if they had a meeting and an FDOT recognized that cleaning was needed. They said that the full restoration project would be very expensive and the state did not have enough money budgeted to perform a full restoration project. And they do not have a time frame for it. So I would like to get,
And who said
So-
this?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
I received this from Utilities,
Because
Shannon.
DOT is in our meeting at TPO every month, and they have been doing this.
Okay.
So I'm just
Well,
curious.
Shannon's right here, so maybe she could shed some light.
Good evening, everyone. Shannon Ponitz, Utilities Director. I attend the Nova Canal. They call it a restoration project. It's a cleaning project. And I asked them specifically if they were restoring that canal back to its original design. And the response I received back was, no, the intent of that project was to skim like 1 to 2 feet of muck off the bottom, clean up the side slopes. And I said, well, will you be programming another project in the future to come back and do that? And she said, not to my knowledge. So I took that to mean that they said it would be very expensive and that wasn't on their radar right now. And we did tour the canal, a portion of it with the Army Corps, and there is a lot of debris right where the Navy Canal comes in, and that portion of the canal has already been cleaned by DOT. So that's the information I received directly from them.
Well, let me say this, if you're, it would have been easier just to ask for her. Because that's who you had. That's-
Noted for next time.
Mhm,
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right, because now you got clarification. Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
you're welcome.
So now that we have clarification, like what's the next step from this? Do we go straight to FDOT or do you bring it to TPO?
No, it's not a TPO, it's a
It's-
DOT, like Mr. Waller said,
Okay.
and, I mean, we can ask, doesn't mean it's gonna be done. Like, I want LPGA widened.
I
And,
woke up thinking about LPG.
right,
this morning.
so, I mean, you can ask all you want, it's whatever DOT decides they're gonna do.
Well, can I get the support from the commission that this is something? Okay, so who asked for it now?
What-
David will ask and then, okay. Thank you. That's all I have. Appreciate it.
And ask how much it costs.
We'll ask all the questions.
Yeah, so we know how much it costs. You know, 5 million, 10 million, what it's cost. Okay. All right, Commissioner Strick?
I just want to say I'm very humbled by being reelected. Thank everybody in this room, this building, and beyond that supported me, and be happy to be of service for another 4 years. With that, I'll stop being of service tonight and say that's the end. Thank you.
Thank you.
So a few weeks ago, I asked if we could get some information on the county's program called 386 and kind of get an update on what's been going on. They were providing housing or contracts for housing, and I was getting some just different comments from citizens in Zone 3. And I'm wondering when we could maybe get them to come in. I think I brought it up before, to come in and do a presentation to kind of let us know where they are in their program. Is that a possibility?
The 386 information is currently going to the county commission November the 18th or 19th. And once they have the approval from the county commission on what projects and programs they're going to fund, they'll probably look at coming to different areas at that time. But right now, it has not been approved by the county commission, and we're on there for, I think, 4 items that the city put in through utilities for mitigation projects that the staff is recommending the county approve us. So after they approve all of the projects through the 386 numbers, we'll request that they come and do a presentation here at the city if the county commission decides to support that.
Okay, and so specifically, I'd like to know about their housing initiative, the replacement housing initiative. That was the concept that I really wanted to discuss or get information about. That's number one. Number two, so even though the hurricane has passed, there's still work to be done in terms of recovery and kind of preparing for whatever happens next. So the county reached out and they asked that, as a commissioner, if I could maybe connect them to the community a bit, if they could come down and do some FEMA disaster relief fill out applications. So I want to say thank you to Food Brings Hope, because they've actually partnered with Campbell. I want to say thank you to the Jack Hermanson Ballpark, because they're also partnering with the county. Then also thank you to Allen Chapel with the Mid-Florida Housing Event. There will be FEMA people out there happy to take applications, happy to help you process through it. It's still not too late. We actually, as a county, have the deadline of December 11th to try to get as many applications as possible into the community and completed. So the city has also provided Dickerson Center for a period of time as well. So thank you so much to the county for reaching out to us, and hopefully these organizations can help us put through more applications. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Commissioner Cantu?
Yeah, mine's gonna be quick. I just want to say we had a great Halloween event. It gets bigger and bigger every year. Thank you to all the trunks that came out, the fire department, Daytona Beach PD. They really showed up. But it was really great. Thank you to Commissioner Strickland and Commissioner Henry for helping sponsoring it. And that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Henry?
Get ready on December 7th, Saturday. We are going to host our Christmas drive-in movie featuring the movie Elf at the Daytona Beach Stadium. We're going to have free hot chocolate, popcorn, face painting, snow machines, and Santa and photos with Santa. The food and drinks at the concession stand will be available for just $1. This event will be sponsored by City of Daytona Beach, the Fire Department, the Police Department, and somebody else. Daytona Beach Fire Unit, Ronnie Brown, right? Who's giving us the snow machine? The Esplanade is going to give us their snow machines to use for that night. And so it's sponsored by Commissioner Cantu and myself. So bring the family out. It's a family event. Bring the children out. It will start at 5 o'clock and the movie will begin at 6:30 p.m. and we hope to see you there. And we have a bigger screen this time, much bigger screen.
December 7th?
December 7th.
I plan to be there.
The whole weekend is very active.
Yeah.
So we look forward to seeing you there. Also, I want to thank Commissioner Paris and Commissioner Strickland for coming out and supporting us during our time of bereavement. They came to my brother's funeral, and it was just really great to look up and see your faces there. And I felt the love, and I really appreciate that. And those are my comments for tonight. Thank you.
Commissioner Reed?
Sorry, I'm not feeling my best. I don't know what we had for dinner, but I'm not feeling good. Just want to remind you also on January 6th that we're going to have our Senior Oasis Prom. It's going to be available for all of our participants of our Oasis program. And once again, for those of you who have an Oasis program in your zone, I'm going to ask your assistance in bringing this program to fruition. Our seniors look forward to it. It's almost like a culmination of the end of the year, of them having an opportunity to celebrate who they are, get to dress up, have a DJ, have a nice dinner meal together. Because as you know, tomorrow's not promised, so it gives them an opportunity to celebrate one more time in the holiday season. And a lot of these seniors, they may live alone, their children may live elsewhere, they may be widows or widowers, and this allows them to have a celebration. So I ask those of you who have an Oasis program, if you would please consider joining me in making this program available to them in means of a donation, in case you're wondering what does she mean by help. In means of a donation. And also, I want to remind you of the Children's Christmas Party, which is the Friday the 13th, right before we have our Christmas parade. The partnership here is with the Jackie Robinson Ballpark with the Tortugas, and it's open to children ages 3 to 12, I believe, and they have an opportunity to experience the park. There's going to be a historical factor because we want our children to know about Jackie Robinson and that this phenomenal park is in their community, that there are all sorts of games, blow-ups. The Tortugas are sponsoring, not only giving us the park, but also hot dogs, hot chocolate, things to eat, snow machine, everything she just said is going to be at the park for those children and their families. Last year, based on the stats from phones, the account was over 800. So we want to be able to continue to do this so that our children will know about this park, and it gives them a nice, clean place to play. It was just really nice. Even with all the things we organized last year, they started having their own games in the outfield, races and everything, because it was a nice, clean place just to be. And so I'd like to continue that. We had a great community meeting at Masters Domain. Commissioner May, myself, the chief, 2 captains, and Denzel Sykes from community or from code compliance. We heard what the citizens said. Chief has agreed that he would go back and give a report in 6 months based on what they shared with us with their issues. And we wanted to have that meeting. It was postponed a couple of times, but we wanted to make sure that we had it, and it did take place. So that concludes my comments. And the Wildcats won their second football game.
Mr. Mayor,
Go on.
I am going to support Commissioner Reed. I'm going to give money toward Oasis. I'll let Letitia know how much, and I'm also going to support your Christmas event as well. I'll let her know how much. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Reed, how much support are you looking for here?
Well, Commissioner Henry just told me she's giving me $1,500. Can you match that?
Be happy to with Bike Week funds.
Okay. Are you saying yes?
Yes, I said I'd be happy to with Bike Week funds.
Thank you. I don't care what funds you use.
Commissioner Henry, that's from Bike Week funds? No? Okay. Yeah,
Community funds. You all call it.
Thank you.
So we'll reflect that in the resolutions for the next meeting?
Yes. Okay. Okay, Commissioner Reed?
Yes, sir,
That's
that's it.
All right, Commissioner Parrish? Oh, we started with
She
you?
started it
You started.
from the beginning.
Sorry, I missed the shade meeting. Head is sort of, continues to spin. And I had to take the 12-year-old to the doctor. We rushed out of school. I left my blazer. We made it to the doctor's, but we would have never made it here, so went back to work to get my blazer and come back down here. So I regret not being there with you all for whatever business you handled. One of the things that we have had a constant set of questions to come before me is regarding how we clean our storm drain and how often we clean them. Because one of the things that residents frequently tell me is that the storm drain wasn't clean. Storm drain wasn't cleaned. And staff, if you would, please tell us how we know if the storm drain was clean, and is it possible that during a storm that the drain could have gotten cleaned and then the drain gets clogged or blocked up again during the storm because of debris that is adjacent in the, in the area. Because people just assume that because the storm gets blocked, that it's because of, it wasn't clean. Whereas I noticed even on my street in the last storm, the drain got clogged. The neighbor went outside and pulled a tree limb or something that had lodged itself in it, and then this road began to recede, or the rain began to recede. So
I will say also that the communications team did also answer the questions.
Yes.
In a handout that we're going to make available online, and these are available also. And Shannon has a email that we'll send out to everyone that also demonstrates from the purpose of TVing lines what take place with our robot that goes into all of our drains to view and show. So we'll send that information out to you all as well. But go ahead, Shannon.
Okay. So Shannon Ponitz, Utilities Director. I'll go over the storm prep first. Before storms, our crews go out. We canvass the entire city. We have 5,200 storm inlets in our system. And so they canvass them, and when I say they only clean the ones that have debris over them at the time that they go ahead of the storm. And they take the pitchforks and they take out the debris, they carry it away. And so we spend however much time we have ahead of storms doing that. After the storm, we go back and we clean them again. But what happens with storms, and exactly what Mayor Henry said, these storms come, and as the water, the debris, as the water starts to drain out, it'll go to the inlets and blind the inlet and clog it up. So a lot of times, I mean, people go out and they clear their own just to make sure that the water has a place to go. We have a lot of floodplain areas in our city, and the water sits for long periods of time after the flood until the river recedes. And specifically with Milton, as it was passing us and going out into the ocean, the tide was high. We had a surge, so there was a period of time that the water couldn't get out. And so we did have that where the debris would go to the inlets. Eventually, once the tide goes out, it does work. The system works. It drains out. We have an adopt-to-drain program. We don't have enough staff to be everywhere all at once in the city. We have the adopt-to-drain program where we invite residents to adopt a drain on their street to try to help out. If they want to clean, that debris that flows to the inlets away. We also have a 24-hour dispatch that anyone can call anytime, and we respond to all of those calls. So if you know that there's something going on your street, please call us, and we're happy to go out and check. That's just storm prep. During the regular year, when we're not dealing with a specific event, the city, we're responsible for cleaning 15 miles of ditches in our city, 233 miles of pipes, and again, the 5,200 inlets. So we have a couple of crews. Some of them work on construction where we have depressions in roadways. And a lot of times the depression is a sign that we have a collapsed pipe that needs repair. So we have a construction crew that does that work. And then we have a crew that does the line cleaning, and they take a Vector truck down and they clean lines, and they try to work in the low-lying areas, the most problematic areas the most. We sometimes get requests from specific neighborhoods, like we had Fairway Estates that we cleaned completely last year around the June timeframe, and we did Catriona out in LPGA. So what I'm saying is we do get the requests, and we will go off of our normal schedule to go respond to those requests to alleviate the citizens' fears. But we do have a lot of infrastructure to take care of, and the guys really try their best. They do their best, but the flooding that happens in the low-lying areas is not a result of of the inlets being, the lack of cleaning, that it does drain out. I mean, the system works and because the water drains out after the events. So if you guys have any specific questions, I'm happy to answer them.
All right, do we have any other questions? No other questions? Thank you.
And we will, as I say, that we will follow up with the email that Shannon provided earlier that also demonstrates and shows you what the staff actually do prior to the storm and the equipment that's used, that you'll be able to share as well.
Yes.
I think it's important that we educate our residents on just what we do, and, we know it's a tall task. When we talk about 5,000 drains, that's a lot. But we do take care of them, and we, staff does a great job. Wanted to express our gratitude to the city manager, Parks and Recreation, several other departments who sent flowers, and Police Chief, not Chitwood, Police Chief Young, and others who, as Commissioner Henry mentioned, you just don't know, but your presence did just send a warm sense of appreciation. Just looking out during the service, knowing that you guys were there, we really appreciated it. I will say this, losing a sibling is not a easy thing. You haven't lost anyone in your immediate family in that way. And it's difficult when your parents are still with you. And so that probably is the most challenging part of it. Our parents are octogenarians, and they've raised children who are now getting old. So that was the hardest part for me, and it continues to be a challenge. My head is still, honestly, very just foggy and disconnected and not back to where I would like for it to be. So we solicit that you will continue to keep us in your thoughts and considerations and prayers. Want to, again, congratulate everyone. The final thing I did want to mention is that obviously we're going to be sworn in 2 weeks from now, November 20th. And Commissioner Cantu would like to have a different person than I have selected for to swear her in. I have no problem with that, but I do want to make certain that we are in agreement, and if we need to make some sort of adjustment, because the way that it has been done for the last, I know, 20 years or 16 years since I've been around, is that the mayor selects that person who swears us in and a whole bunch of other things. And I have no problem with what you want, but I don't want it to ever come a time where if there were 4 people being sworn in, I wouldn't approve or want to approve 4 different people. And the way that the staff, and I think it puts the staff in a position where they didn't have to answer a question when you have custom and tradition in the way that something's been done, and it's not written in the charter. But this is the way that we've done it, just the same way I don't believe that a proclamation is written in the charter. But the mayor authorizes proclamations. Now, some things are written in the charter, like the mayor can call emergency meetings and things of that nature are in the charter. But is this something that needs to be in the charter, or that we need to approve and say, this is the way that we do it, so that if there's because the one thing I don't want is for staff to have friction, and for me to think that things should go a different way, and I want them to know what they have to do. So are we in agreement, or should we somehow have something written out that says that we're going to do it the way that it's been done, or would you all like to do something different?
Can I address this?
Yeah.
Okay, so I asked the judge beforehand, and I feel like as they do it different than us.
Mhm.
And actually, Patricia told me how you did it, and I feel like you didn't work my campaign.
Mhm.
You were knocking on doors. Each one of us earns individually who we think should swear us in. I don't feel like one person should be able to decide they can do the work for us. I mean, nothing against you, but.
I know it's not
mean-
personal.
I mean, I should be able to, I earned it.
Okay.
And do you get what I'm saying?
Uh,
Just like you earned it, Commissioner Henry, and we did the work, and I just feel like who I want to swear, if I want to swear on a Bible, because I heard some don't, and I know I did when I came here. I should be able to swear on a Bible when I'm being sworn in. And I just feel like I did the work, and I should be able to have who I want to swear me in. And I did call around to make sure that I wasn't being out of line with this as well.
Mhm.
And if that's something you want to do in the future, I'm fine, but when I already asked someone, I'm not gonna,
Mhm.
do you get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, but I'm trying to get clarification for what we
Correct.
want to do, because for me, it wasn't me that, I didn't do it. When I came, it was already done that way. So I just governed myself according to the way that we've done it. I didn't go out and research or ask how someone else did it. I just did it the way we did it. Personally, I really wouldn't really oppose that if you had someone different, but there are other things that go on. It's just the whole program. Who prays, who sings, all of that. Are we all gonna have a different person come up and sing? Or so we wouldn't do that. And not that I think that that's, that it's not quite the same, but it could come to that. So the point is, what's our preference in terms of how staff is to address this sort of a situation when you have a tradition that they're accustomed to, and then, we can't really talk about it. They had to talk to each other. She never talked to me. So, and like she said she'd already asked someone, I knew long ago who was gonna be, because Chris, isn't that who it is? He swore us in the last time, if I'm not mistaken. So, in 2020, so like we had Judge Grimes, I think we had Judge Kelly, Chris, now we're having, who's the one I chose? Who? Joan Anthony. And so my point is, how should we deal with this, and do we need to have some sort of written format or procedure? Commissioner, are you?
Yeah, is this tradition, is this that we're talking about, or is this something that's in the charter? Or are we making new rules up as we go? What are we doing
The
here?
charter doesn't specifically address this. The charter says all power rests in the city commission unless it's delegated out. So in the absence of a different decision, the charter also says that the mayor serves as the ceremonial head. And presumably,
This is a
traditionally, the way
ceremony.
this has been interpreted, this was the ceremony, and so this was part of the mayor's function. The commission could, by resolution, make a different decision.
Did you say charter says he serves as a ceremonial
It
head?
says that.
Yeah.
Well, then he's in charge.
It doesn't say about the swearing in.
But it's a
But
ceremony.
Ceremony, it's a ceremony and a ceremonial head. And I would say, that, of course, different places are gonna do it differently. And everything we can't do cannot be, because this place does it just differently, or that place. We're Daytona Beach, and this is how we've done it. Now, I per se don't have a problem with it, but if the charter says that there's a ceremonial head, there's a ceremonial head. I mean, I think all of us have had people to work and knock on doors and in every campaign, and no one is saying only this person has to swear me in, or I would only like for this person to swear me in. I don't think it has to be all of that, just because those people didn't work on the campaign.
And that's why I did call the Pollution League of City that we pay in to check with Nancy and Lois and all the other ones. And they do individually swear
Okay.
And that's why, I mean, it wasn't just all cities, it was Bush League cities I contacted.
Yeah.
Okay.
I still say it's, we're not gonna always do it the way the Volusia League of Cities, we're not always gonna do it the way the county does it, or another municipality does it. But if y'all wanna change it, I think it's something we could have a conversation about. And I do think if you were gonna ask someone else, you probably should have brought it back to the commission before you asked someone else. If there's always been a ceremonial way that we've done it. I just think I would have done that. And I know you're not me, but I just think it should have been brought back beforehand.
Well, and that, she can't call me on the phone and even
Well, I
though.
said bring it back to the
talk about-
commission.
But if you brought it here, first of all, I did interpret it and have been told that it's a function of the duties of the mayor. So that's the way that we've operated. I'm not sensitive, you all know that it don't really matter to me. If you ask me in this meeting, you say, can I have so-and-so to swear me in? My likelihood is of saying, well, I don't care, sure.
Yeah.
We just have two people. You get up and swear you in, and the other lady swear the rest of us in. That's what I would say. But this is the way that we've done it. And I don't want staff to feel like they're, tipping around and offending us or feeling sensitive or feeling like I'm gonna be offended. I'm not easily offended, and I'm not gonna be here. I've served longer than I plan to serve in the future for certain. But so I think it just needs to be clarified for them and for the future.
I personally didn't think you would even.
And I don't care. I don't, but I do think that it needs to be clarified and understood so that they don't feel, like they got to tiptoe around. And the way I read it is that the mayor's the ceremonial head, and that's who makes the decisions in conjunction.
I'm good with the mayor being the ceremonial head until we get together and have time to change it.
Okay.
So I think that provides clarification for staff, because of the position of the commission is that the mayor's ceremonial head determines who the judges are, then it would be okay for the manager to relay a request to the mayor, whether a second judge could preside over the swearing of an additional commissioner, because that's not something that's likely to be talked about by the board and voted on, because it's your decision.
Okay. All right. Is there any other, do you have anything? I want
Whatever you decide, I'll agree with on it.
to, okay.
So for the 20th, I'll have the two.
Yeah, that's good. All right. But it's just like if we have a program at the Dickinson Center saying we're, we gotta dedicate a new building. Then, see, but I know you don't. But if somebody does and they come back and say, oh, this is my zone, I'm not likely to say that I care that it's their zone and they can do something special too, but we gotta have a procedure so that they're not left in the wind, because then they don't wanna tell you no. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I know what you're saying, that should be you.
Okay.
I just feel like this
What is personal?
personal, this is me.
Mhm.
This is no one else up here that, do you get what I'm saying?
I get it.
Okay.
I get it. Okay.
And for the record, since Commissioner Cantu brought it up, our office doesn't usually we don't have religious texts so if you want to be sworn in with your hand on your religious text of your thing, just please to bring it with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh.
brought it last time.
Yeah.
And I know you kind of said something like, oh, we don't do that, but for you to even say that to me, it was kind of like a little, I took that a little defensive, because if you go to a lot of swearing, I've been to a lot of swearing in, usually someone will bring their Bible, and my husband held my Bible.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't know, I just don't think if that, You don't have to do it, but if someone wants to do it, it should
No, I'm
be-
just
it
letting
shouldn't
you
be
know
such
that
a
we
big
don't
deal.
have them because we've
Okay.
been asking
Well-
for where's the
Well,
Bible.
I bring my own.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. You did that when you were first
Right.
sworn in too. I just wanted to make the other commissioners aware that if they wanted to actually swear in on a Bible, that they needed to bring their own.
Right, because just because you don't do it, don't mean you won't do it.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. All right. Okay, that concludes my commentary for the evening. Mr. Manager, do you have anything?
Just one item, if you all receive information in reference to the Disaster Recovery Center that will be opening up November the 12th at the Dickerson Center, starting, I think, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. for people to get assistance. I know we'll be sending that information out, but I think all of you all received the email. Just wanted to put that out there, that the center will be opening up at the Dickerson Center next week. And congratulations to all of you on being re-elected to your seats.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations, everybody.
Thank you, thank you. All right, we'll now hear from the residents of Daytona Beach.
Okay. My first speaker is Thomas Russell, and on deck is Edlin Rodriguez.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Thomas Russell, 603 North Beach Street, the original North Beach Street. And I'm here to talk today about Root Canal. Those of you that know Root Canal and where it's located know that it's approximately 150 feet wide and the equivalent to about 70 city blocks long. It was established somewhere over 100 years ago as a drainage drop-off for all the storm water drains that go up to Ridgewood, north to Mason, and going south. It now includes an outlet for the North Street Retention Pond. Does everybody know where that is? It pumps water into the Root Canal. Now, the purpose of the canal was to collect the water because that area was swamp. Ballou Road was built on fill, but they couldn't kill the swamp because that was a natural spring water, etc., flowing in there. I was told there were gators in there at one time. So what's happened is this 100-year-old canal has accumulated debris, muck so deep you can't get in there. You could be sucked in like quicksand. And because of that, you had the drain person here. The outlets are buried in muck in that particular area to the point where there's very little in or out water flow. I hope that makes sense to everybody. You can't put a bulkhead around it because then that water would go back through the drains. So as a novice person, my suggestion is for the use of the CRA money, which I got information from Ms. Quay concerning how the monies are spent, that you invest in a check valve and maybe some dredging to prevent the water at high tide areas from backflowing into Root Canal, which causes the backflowing into the drains, which causes the overflow, which flows from Mason Avenue to the new part of North Beach Street at Fairview Avenue. I hope that makes sense. But everybody talks about it, nobody does anything. And I'm not asking you to spend somebody else's money. I'm not asking you to spend your money. Understand that. I'm not asking for 1 penny of city money. This can be done with CRA money. Can't? Why not? That's right. I'll cover that. Ms. Gray did a great job, and I'd suggest that you might come up with some way that the yard guys that are out there mowing grass and blowing the crap all into the streets, which goes into the drain. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Edlin Rodriguez, and on deck is John Nicholson.
Evelyn Rodriguez, 1405 Molly River. Bamali Road, Daytona Beach. So after 3 months after I did the restoration of my home from Hurricane Ian, I got flooded again by Hurricane Milton. So now I'm back to square one. Days before the Hurricane Milton came by, two of my neighbors, one on the very north of Fairway Estates and one on the very west of the Fairway Estate, inquired about putting a pump on their land to divert the water, and the city's response was, it'll make no sense, there's no use because there's nowhere for the water to go. There's nowhere for the water to go. That's the same thing that those people from the Corps of Engineers said. There's nowhere for the water to go. The city knows that there's nowhere for the water to go. They've known it for some time. Okay, so they said that we can't divert the water to the east because the river is bringing it back. We can't divert it to the west because of all the construction. And by the way, that humongous cold storage, I go by there all the time. I still haven't seen a retention pond anywhere around there. Costco has a real nice retention, really huge. I don't understand why the city hasn't required all these new developments to first put a retention pond to divert the water. So we know we can't go east, we can't go west. Like she said, the water stands there. It was not waist high, only thigh high this time. So there's so now we have to wait for the Corps of Engineers another 3 years. We're still having one more storm supposedly coming through, or hopefully not. So there's no answer, or is there? I don't understand why you can't dig a huge ditch along the west side of the golf course, which is the east side of Fairway Estates, 5 feet down along. It's not going to interrupt any of the golfers. In fact, on the northwest of the golf course, there's a mound that's real high, so the water is running off of that into Fairway Estates. So that's one cause. But along from the north to Bevel Road, I don't understand why you can't put a 5-foot ditch there. Some of the water will run off there. Shady Place has a right-of-way that's more than 10 feet deep. That could be dug out also, very deep, to divert some of the water. Okay, there are vacant lots in Fairway Estates still. City could purchase them and put retention ponds on that. That's not unusual. I lived in the subdivision in Port Orange once, and there was a retention pond in one of the lots in the corner.
Our next speaker is John Nicholson, and on deck is Maria Johnson.
Can I say something real? Okay, you mentioned the CARES project. That's running off the B-19. The B-19, it's the county. It runs through Pelican Bay all the way to Port Orange on the west side of the development on the west side. And Amazon project is part of the airport as well.
Okay. John Nicholson, 413 North Grandview Avenue. A couple of things Carol brought up. In 2008, we talked about establishing communities or neighborhoods throughout the city. I read Trend magazine yesterday. It establishes or says that the city of Daytona Beach is now at 89,000 people. The larger we get, the less neighborly we will become. So I think it's a good idea to go back to the idea of establishing neighborhoods. The dunes on Beachside, Pelican Bay, there are 3 communities in the black neighborhood. I think it's a good idea to look at. Secondly, the stormwater she's talking about, if the muck has been growing, do we know how far down the original floor of Nova Canal was and where it is now? If it's 6 feet deep and we've only taken out a foot, we're losing 5 foot by 50 foot by several miles. So it would be important to us to know how much muck has accumulated over the years. because it really displaces a great deal of water. Secondly, I brought it to Jim Morris several years ago. We own land right next to Soul City, where the old tag station was. If we could dig out those 3 or 4 acres and make a retention pond there, Soul City and Nova Canal or Nova Road flood. If we can help that area by creating a huge drainage area there, would be to our advantage. Secondly, I would ask that we settle the ACLU lawsuit, just end it, rezone, and call it a day. I also read it in Trend magazine that the state in 2016 stopped the incentives to film industry. Orlando is right down the street, right down I-4. Pinellas County, those 2 counties have the counties themselves and the cities themselves are having film incentives. I was wondering if the city of Daytona Beach would think about having incentives to have films produced here in Daytona Beach. We have we have 9 major events. We have plenty of land, plenty of unique buildings, a beach to die for. I would think about having incentives to bring film industry here and film here in the city. Echo, you all received some paperwork from me. There is almost $20 million on the east side that has not been spent each and every year. So I'm asking you to think about what projects we could have for Echo in the city of Daytona Beach. We're giving up $20 million from the city, $10 million from the city itself. So it's money. If we could use it, use it. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Maria Johnson, and on deck is Frederick Brown.
Hello, everybody. My name is Maria Johnson, and I'm here on the behalf of myself, Isaac Johnson, Malachi Price Johnson, and other children that have suffered by the hands of the department, which is DCF and their partnerships. I want to first off say that, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he had a dream that many people thought was impossible. And I want to bring it to the attention of the commission that I'm requesting cameras for the fire department. I feel like they need body cameras. They need some type of cameras in the garage due to the fact of what happened to me and my family. And I want to say that my heart goes out to you on your loss. I don't know if it was an unexpected thing or not, but what happened to me and my family was unexpected. And, one piece that a person can get when they lose a loved one to death is, they know that they're with the Lord and, they're buried, and with time can heal some things. But the loss that I have is that due to what Lieutenant Sean Tyree did to my family, committing a 3rd-degree felony, took my children away from me, and my children are in placement, and my children are still living, but it feels like a death that I will continue to fight for like Dr. King did until things are resolved. My issue is that not only Lieutenant Sean Tyree has committed a 3rd-degree felony, Officer Reed and Officer Harris, they conspired with Lieutenant Sean Tyree to fabricate reports about me for him to reach his goal, which he said on body cam, to separate me from my children, just off the looks of myself, of what I looked like and what my vehicle looked like. I want to say about District 7 judges, and also with the courthouse that's right up the road, my experience with those judges, I've had a judge tell me that these people will use everything against you, so no matter if you're right or wrong, this is what they're going to use against you. And as well, that even when you're innocent, people take plea deals all the time just to get their court case over with. But I'm a woman that did not commit any crimes at all, period. And I've had employees of the state, the city, and the county repeatedly fabricate reports. And I'm asking the commission to look into this My kids are being hurt. I've made several reports. It's going on deaf ears. Things are repeatedly being covered up. Went down to the Daytona Beach Police Department, and I was told by Officer Harris that me making a report about a government employee writing a false report and neglecting children would be like me venting, and that it would get turned over to DCF and it would have to be handled internally. Well, that's been the problem. Everything has been handled internally. Things have been covered up, and my family is suffering off of the profit for.
Thank you, ma'am. Your time has expired.
So, thank you.
Our next speaker is Frederick Brown, and on deck is Ken Southall.
Frank Brown, 1508 Crescent Ridge, Daytona Beach. First off, I'd like to open up by saying I was a bit disappointed. In 5 days is Veterans Day. Not one of you recognized veterans. I know throughout the year there's been occasional things, but Veterans Day is very meaningful to all of us. Volusia County has twice the number of veterans of any other part of the United States. So it's important, especially to the nearly 20,000 of us that served in the Vietnam War, who were not welcomed home when we came back. Next, I'd like to talk about safety, and particularly road safety. I know there's a lot of discussion brought up on what the Florida DOT is doing or not doing, or might be doing, or nobody knows. I would like to see the commission include a report from our DOT representatives so that not only is the public informed, but also the commissioners informed as to what the DOT is doing. In part of that discussion, I noticed FPL delays once again came up. And I want it to be known for everybody and the citizens in this area, as well as the city commission, what a bad partner FPL is. They have some of the worst infrastructure in the country here in Daytona Beach. They know it. They have a policy, and this is known only to the employees, of run to failure, which is the worst possible maintenance program you can have. They used to maintain some of the lines, power lines. Once again, in this storm, I lost my power. Several other people lost their power that didn't need to. The disaster in Port Orange did not need to happen. The employees tried to tell management what to do. It would have only cost $20,000 instead of the over $2 million it's going to cost to repair the damage, and not to mention the people that lost power. Again, Florida Power needs to be called out for the bad partner that they are and the poor service of the infrastructure, especially here in Daytona Beach and eastern Volusia County. Lastly, I have been talking for the past 2.5 years about the flooding problems. We talked about the Halifax Canal, which you all know now as the Nova Canal, being maintained to its original standards. The original standards were set back in the 1950s, actually late 40s. They are no longer pertinent to today's standard. We continue to see approval after approval after approval of developments in the western part. Great for development. You're burning, you're stripping the bogs. All of that is all well documented by the Army Corps of Engineers. That is where our main flood prevention has been. There's plenty of other projects that the city needs to take on, including the water outflow. That's been ignored. And of course, we're all waiting on the Army Corps of Engineering study number 2, as a reminder, and it's all in Daytona City records, 2008, 2010.
Sir.
Same problems were there then. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ken Southall, and on deck is Rhoda Moten.
Mayor, can I say something? No. So we would like to wish the Marine Corps a happy 249th birthday on Sunday, and then happy Veterans Day to all the veterans on Monday. And at the last commission meeting, I think we announced the city of Daytona Beach sponsored the wall at the Espelon that all the military groups, most of them went there. I'm not sure if Mr. Frederick was able to go there. But I think the city does a lot for veterans. And as a daughter of a Vietnam veteran who actually is not here because of Vietnam, and then also a son who is an Iraq veteran, I think This group up here does a lot for veterans, and also a veteran museum that, though they pay, what, $10 a year? Good deal. What do you think? Yeah, happy Veterans Day.
Well, my name is Ken Southall, and I'm a veteran too. No, I went in service in '67. Stayed for 2 years. I came back here to Daytona, and I went to dry my clothes at a laundromat on Mason Avenue. Man had a gun in his pocket and told me I couldn't come in there. I asked why. He said, I just don't want you in here, period. So we had bad experience, and it's good to say we are doing better, which I enjoy. I love it. But to say that everything has always been good, that makes me angry because I know it's not true. All right, and getting back to the flood. I'm one of the ones that's been told that the drains storm drains have not been cleaned, and apparently I'm not the only one. And I would love to work with Ms. Parrish to see whether or not if they have been cleaned and you got proof that it has been done and everything is being done to make things better for the community, especially in where I live in the flood zone area. And I seen a couple of the storm drains collapse. I seen that personally in that area. So, I love the mayor when you say that we have to inform the people as what's true and what's not true, what's being done, because we don't understand. Right? We don't understand. You can say that we can give a study for the Corps of Engineer, but do we have the money to go elsewhere? The people don't want to hear that. They've been flooded out 5 times, And if you bought a home back in those days, you may pay in the 70s, $15,000, $16,000. But to replace that same home, gonna cost you $300,000. And you haven't been out flooded 5 times. You'll never pay for it, never get your money back. I don't want to hold my time up because you didn't spend my time, but if you think about these things, let's work together so they can understand what you're trying to do and what they have to do until we get things to a point where we can live. Well, we can't keep living like this. I'm 78 years old. I can't. I don't work no more. I get on. My income is what I get. And it's literally nothing. If I wasn't in service and getting full benefits, I'd be like the average person, get about $1,000, $1,200 a month. And what can I do with that? Not a damn thing. So I'd love to work with you and my commissioner so we can inform the people as what we are doing and how we're doing it and why we're doing whatever, and it's best for their benefits.
Thank you, sir.
I seen the guys that live in the Carter Circle literally got tears in their eyes. And the building code doesn't change.
I'm sorry, sir, your time is expired.
Okay, I figured that.
Our final speaker is Rhoda Moten. Our next to final speaker is Rhoda Moten.
Good evening. I came first to thank Commissioner Reed. She gave us a sponsorship. Again, I have a nonprofit organization where I provide cranial prosthesis for individuals that's undergoing medical hair loss. I came before to speak to try to get back in on the event that we're having on November the 16th. I don't know if I explained the program and what we do very well. Basically, people that's undergoing medical hair loss, cancer patients especially, that's my heart, because that's where it started at. It started with an 80-year-old lady that walked in. The wig that the Cancer Society had given her was an old used wig, and it was just horrible. The look from when she walked in to when she walked out was absolutely amazing. I know in our community, we really don't have a program that offer help to our culture of people. They do have different programs that we'll give people with, but not nothing like what we're doing. We offer full makeovers. We'll be doing a wig, manicure, pedicure, a full makeover just to make people feel like themselves again when they're going through these treatments. Commissioner Reed did give a sponsorship towards our program, so I want to come tell her thank you and also to give her tickets to our event. And then also give you all this information on our nonprofit just in case anybody else wanted to give a sponsorship. Transformation's main focus. Oh, just give it to her. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ann Ruby.
Hi, Ann Ruby, 137 Park Avenue. We're talking about flooding, so I sent y'all an email. I'm hoping you paid attention to it. I know Commissioner Reed responded, that if we're going to see the frequency and severity of big water rain events increase. That's coming. We can't change that, certainly not at the city level. But at the city level, I think it's time for us to look, for you as a commission, to please instruct staff to look into how do we change our building standards, our LDC, how do we change how we build new property? How do we change how we design the properties we build? Less car-centric, more porous surfacing. We need to start looking at that. We can't keep using old building patterns for new increased severity of rain events. So please ask them to look into this and give them a time frame to bring something back. Because we gotta look at prevention. We have to look at the prevention. And how do we build to be preventive? So please ask them to do that. Thank you.
And my next speaker is Patricia, is it Singleton?
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Patricia Singleton, and I've been a resident here all my life, 77 years. And my husband, 216 South Carolina Street, and I got married at 18 years old. My husband and I are still together, 59 years. And we've been in that same house from the day we married up until this present time. And we paid for that house. We worked 30 years to pay for that house. And at that time, you could get a house cheap. You would call it cheap, but during that time, that was a lot of money, $10,000. We married in 1965, okay? So we were here during the time when we had all the canals down Nova Road. And then they did the expansion and closed in quite a few of those canals that ran near my home. So we never flooded. It was 30 years after they covered those canals. So the first 2 times, it was very little, okay? The last 3 times, we got at least 4 inches in our house. So everything was damaged. Every time, everything had to be torn out and replaced. So this has been 5 times. I worked with the city for several years with Kimberly Dixon when she was working with the water mitigation program. So FEMA, we went back and forth with FEMA, and FEMA would not help me. I asked them to help me raise my home because I had read where upstate where they had helped people and they had did it free for them, but they would not do it for me. They told me that, you know, it would have to be more people on my street that flooded. Okay, hey, they could have helped me. One person, just, so what? You know, I needed the help. I've been flooded out all these times, losing my possessions, And now I'm 77 years old. I can't afford to buy another house. I'm retired. My husband is retired. We can't afford it. So at this point in time, I don't know what we're gonna do. We're still waiting for money to come through for our insurance. And you know, it's taken them a long time, and we're still there, and I'm suffering with my allergies because we have nowhere else to go. So we're in the house. So,
Ms. Singleton, you all didn't flood before,
no, we
30
didn't.
years ago?
No, we didn't.
And,
Not until they closed the canals.
and so after they closed the canal, then you
Yeah.
started flooding?
Yes, sir. So just figure, I think we started flooding in the 90s. So it went like quite a few years before we, about 10 years each time, you know, in increments of 10 years. And then now it's just back to back to back. So it's been 5 years, and FEMA is telling me, you know, we gotta tell the next person if they buy my house that we flood. So who's gonna wanna buy my house? So I don't think we should have to suffer this way because it's just not fair at all. Thank you.
That was my final speaker, Mr. Mayor.
All right. This concludes our meeting. Thank you. Good night, Daytona Beach.